Alright YouTube, Josh Cunningham Cichlids back with another video here. This time we're going to drill some tanks now. I have dismantled 6 tanks so far. I've drilled a couple of test holes. I made a template for my 20 highs that I'm going to start. So we'll go ahead and see how that goes, and I'll show you the drilling process. Let's go. Alright, so we're going to start drilling some tanks. Here's some 20 long, 20 high, a 15 that I got to make a template for. But I made some templates for my 20s. I got 4 20 highs that I can start drilling, and then I'll make a template for my 15. So what I did is just 3/4 inch plywood. Kind of hard to see, but I cut a hole exactly here at 1.5 inch with a hole saw, which is the exact size of my glass drill, which is where I want the hole to be. You can see a little bit, there we go. And then got another piece of plywood on the bottom just to clamp it. We're going to fill the hole with water and we're going to start drilling it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get the hole wet. And we're going to start drilling this tank out. So right now I'm just letting the bit do the work. I'm barely pushing if anything on the glass. So enough a little bit. Back in there and we'll keep going. Some more water here. Just using tank water. It's better if you have a hose that you can just run straight water under the bit, but I don't have a hose to run over here, so the hard part for me is knowing exactly when it's going to break through. So usually I don't have a board on the other side, but this time I'm trying it to stop the back from splintering. And I think I'm through. So we're going to take a look and see if I came through or not. Release the clamp. Check. I think we're through because we have water on the other side. So just need to do an extra little try rotation to get this piece of glass out of there. So you can't do that. And catch the glass piece as it falls. There we go. Alright, so now we got our bulkhead. We got our hole drilled. We're going to go ahead and put the bulkhead in. We got the gasket wet. We're going to go ahead and seal the bulkhead to the tank, and we're going to move on to the next ones. We got 64 left to go. It's going to be a long weekend of drilling tanks. But that's just what it is when you're trying to redo stuff in your fish room that you should have did from the beginning. Alright, so now we got the first bulkhead installed. We're going to go ahead and put our Teflon tape right here. We're going to put that on our elbow that's going to connect to the drain line. So we're going to go ahead and wrap our elbow with some Teflon tape here before we put it into the connector, the bulkhead. Because you're going to want this at a 90-degree angle. We're going to want to make sure it doesn't leak. Alright. So we get wrapped nice with some Teflon tape. So now we're going to go ahead and screw it into the bulkhead. So now we got our 90 in there, so now we're gonna use this and we're gonna hook our drain hose to this. So there you can see the first bulkheads installed. This rack, we got 15 bulkheads to install. We're gonna have to move out the tanks, finish emptying the tanks that are still running, move out the rack and start putting, eventually gonna start putting the drain lines behind them. You can see we're moving along, we got some more fishing totes. More fish being moved. Got 5 or 6 tanks drilled right now, so this rack should be down here shortly, and then we'll start working on the drains behind it. We got 10, 20 highs drilled so far. We'll put the last one in the rack. Now we're emptying and going to work on some 15s, get these drilled, and then this rack should be done, and then we'll pull it out, and behind here we'll start laying the drain pipes and hooking the hoses up to get this rack done. We got PVC, we're getting ready to do the drains back here. All these 15 tanks are drilled, we pulled the rack out, so we're getting ready to put the drains together back here. We're catching more fish and emptying tanks over here to drill, so progress is moving along.
You have a shop back down here?
So here's the drain part going in, so we're going to start drilling holes and connecting the bulkheads here shortly. Here's the drain pipe we're using for the first rack, put the grommets in. Now we need to put the barb fittings in. And then we'll continue the process and get this set up. Alright, so now we have all the drain lines hooked up. You can see from the bulkhead all the way down to the drain PVC here. So this is all ready to go. So we're going to push this rack back and then start working on filling these tanks. Here you can see one of the, a little hard to see, but one of the drains are working. It's going down there and out to my sump. So far so good. Alright, so day 2 of the Fishroom remodel, we're going to finish putting the drains in for this rack over here. It holds my 6 20 longs that are already drilled. And we're going to work on doing the drains over here. I'm going to work on emptying these tanks for now and moving fish to the rack that we've completed over here. So then we can continue drilling tanks and setting up the other rack. Alright, so day 2 we're still working. So this rack of 20s is all drilled. 5 tanks are filled up. We're finishing the drain lines, so that way we can drill the next set of tanks over here and fill this last one up. So these 15 tanks are all drilled. Still need to be tested from an overflow perspective on some, but so far the ones that have been tested seem to work out really well. So we're still continuing to work through this. Okay, so we're finishing up this wall. We've been drilling all day pretty much. So Dean and Kyle have been workhorses, so I appreciate their help for sure. So we got about 13 tanks left to drill, and then all the drilling's done, and then we'll have to go back and build the drain lines and we'll finish up this row here of all the tanks back there. So it'll be 60 some tanks drilled for the weekend. So, well, project just came to a halt. We had a casualty of war. So the bit had broke, believe it or not. So the drill bit we were using broke, and it ended up breaking this 40 breeder right there. You can see the crack coming off from the hole across. So we need to get a new 40 breeder to replace this one with, and then we still have 13 tanks plus 14 with the new one that'll need to be drilled. So that'll be a project for next weekend, but in effort of getting and maximizing time, we're going to still go ahead and we'll move all these out. We'll do all the drain lines behind these tanks, finish it off, and then next weekend we'll come back and we'll drill the last remaining 14 tanks to finish off the drain system. So even though the 40 breeder broke, as we're still forging ahead. We have this back here tore out, and then getting plumbed for the drains there and down there. So we'll run the hoses back here, get this all back together tonight. This area will be back together. We'll also work on the drain lines over here. So this will somewhat be completed, and then stop about here, and then tomorrow we'll pick up and we'll finish the drain lines at least down this wall. And then right here is the tank that broke where we need to pick up drilling. So these 2 tanks on this rack, and then these 12 tanks will need to be drilled next weekend. So in effort of still forging forward, we're also working on putting the drain lines and putting this rack back together here. Alright, so now we have these tanks back together. These are the 30 longs, all hooked up to the drains. You can see around drain line down on the 2 right here. And then these tanks are all filled back up. These drain lines are hooked up. We gotta get some more hose tomorrow to finish, but by the time this video is out, those will all be hooked up. Drain lines in the bottom, all plumbed. Tanks are a little cloudy since they were empty and they just got filled. And then these 40s, we're working on plumbing back here and the drains back here. So these 40s will be pushed back and filled up tonight. And then continue to work on the drain lines tomorrow for the rest of the racks at least. And then finally day 3, we got done as much as we could until I get a new drill bit. We got all the tanks back together. We finished this this set back here we finished last night, which is the 6 40 longs and 3 30 longs. And then today we finished running the drain lines all down the rest of the tanks and the sides. So the top tank will drain into this part, and then the middle and bottom tank will drain down here. So all these are all done. The drain lines are all, nipples are all put in for the hose. Bulkheads are done as far as we can go. I'm also actually ran out of hose, so I gotta get more hose tomorrow when I order a new drill bit. But then I should be able to get some help. We'll drill the rest of the 14 tanks, and then we will be done with this, with the water change, at least the drain part for the tanks that I'm drilling. So all in all, we got over 46 tanks drained, or drilled, I mean, and the drain lines ran. So it was a long weekend, busy weekend, but a good weekend. So these racks have pry valve backing them now, and they're all plumbed and ready to go, hooked up. So we'll see how the fishies are tomorrow, since they've been in totes for around 3 days. So I didn't feed them in the totes either, so I'll feed them today when I come down here in a little bit. So that rack's plumbed, this rack is plumbed, and this rack of 15 is plumbed. For a rack of 15 tanks is plumbed as well. So everything's all plumbed that we could. You can see the drain lines all back here, all hooked up on this one rack. Some more steel bulkheads still need to get tested to make sure they're not leaking, more so on this rack over here, but all in all, I think we've made some really great progress for the weekend, starting on Friday, and now it's Sunday at 9 o'clock at night. So we just finished a couple hours ago with putting this row back together and finishing the drains over there, the drain line. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you get notified when I upload videos. If you are a current subscriber, thanks for the support. I do appreciate it. So what I'll probably do is come back with a finished video once we drill the last 14 tanks, I mean, and maybe we'll fill some tanks up and show you the drains and how it works from that standpoint.